Good morning from Inspire Saigon. Today we're going to have Eric from Dom Hospitality. Can you tell us what Dom Hospitality do here in Vietnam and how you arrived in Vietnam?
Good morning, Federico. Well,
Morning.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Most welcome.
Well, Dome Hospitality is about helping investors, developers, as well as operators to develop new projects, or we also assist them in operating their venues, should it be hotels, restaurants, nightclubs, beach clubs, and bars. So this is what, and we do conduct survey. We advise investors as well. We can help them since the very beginning, from an empty piece of land up to completion, managing their operation, or we can take an existing property to transform it, to renovate, rebranding, brand awareness. And
so you can offer a full package, let's say.
Yes.
You start from, let's say, even a piece of land, as
From
you say.
A to Z.
From construction to management and success.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Vietnam, the way how you work, and other countries? So how you operate here in Vietnam and in other countries?
Well, every country is different anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Related to the culture, of course, and also related of the maturity of the business. It's true that Vietnam is quite a new destination for tourism. If we compare with Dubai or with Thailand, for instance.
Also Indonesia nearby.
Or Indonesia as well, yes, of course. And then it's also about perhaps educating our customers to provide them with more detailed information about the impact of their investment or about the impact of the way they are managing their operation. So it's mostly spending perhaps more time, yes, in customers' education, but also for the staff. It's not at the beginning. I arrived here 11 years ago.
So you arrived in Vietnam 11 years ago?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Before the mix.
And then, of course, the level of education in hospitality schools are much different than in Western countries. So it's also about educating the staff to tell them how or what are the customers' expectations, specifically when we work on the upscale 5-star segment or for fine dining, but even for casual dining, like your restaurant, it's a lot of time spending in educating. Training, educating, and bringing the people at the right level to match the customer's expectation. So I would say these are the main differences, but also we have to take into consideration about the culture. Perhaps in Vietnam, things are not always obvious. Then we have to search, or we have to investigate to collect as many data as possible to well understand the mindset of our customers. Sometimes people, but it's not specifically related to Vietnam, but about Asia, generally speaking, people are perhaps scared of losing face when they don't know something.
So they're avoiding to say,
yes,
I'm wrong.
Yes. And then it's about making them comfortable. Anybody can make mistake. We are not supposed to know everything.
Yeah, of course. We're here for learn.
Yes, it's about making them comfortable to give as many information as they can and what is their target. Sometimes also there is a lack of a long-term view in the way they approach business. So we have also to make them understand that the investment they will make or the way they're operating their business, it's a long term. And also one specific thing about Asia, not only Vietnam, is that sometimes people are, how should I say, perhaps they want to have a return on investment straight away. And when we are talking about big investment, it's not possible.
Like millions and millions, it's going to be very difficult there. Correct.
When you invest millions of USD, you cannot expect to have a return on investment within 6 months. And sometimes it's not so obvious in the investor's mind in Vietnam, but also in other countries in Asia.
Tell me a funny story related to your work that happened here in Vietnam.
Well, it was at the very beginning when I first arrived to Vietnam. I worked for a cruise company in Ha Long Bay. I was in charge of two cruises brands, one 4-star, one 5-star. And one day when we were sailing for either 2 nights or 3 nights cruise in Halong Bay. And then one day, by checking what was on board of one ship, I realized that we missed some food. The chef forgot to bring the meat for one of the dinner.
So when it already
No, we were still
in
the harbor, and then we sent the chef back to check, but to bring the meat. And I saw that it would be quite quick for him to find the meat. And then the captain starting, and then after 15 minutes, we realized that we left the chef. He brought the meat on board, but he had to return to the cruise center for I don't know what. And then we realized that we had no chef on the cruise for the 3 next day. So it was a bit embarrassing, but with all the team and myself, we tried to do our best to cover the chef.
I have something similar. When I was in Singapore, I was working as a private chef. So we do a lot of events. And one time we sailing in a big boat. It's called like Royal Albatross. Mm-hmm. And when we arrived to Lazarus Island, my sous chef, it was like Indian guy. It was only two of us. And he told me like, don't worry, I'm from Mumbai. I super good on the sea, no problem. And after like maybe 200 meters on the sea, he gets seasick and he left me alone, serving, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 people by myself, and it was like just stuck in the toilet. You say, I'm an investor, foreign investors, and I want to invest in Vietnam. Why I have to do that? And let's say if you can give me an advice of what I have to be careful of.
Sure. Well, Vietnam has a huge potential in terms of tourism development. So, of course, it's very good for investors, should they be Vietnamese or foreigners. So I believe there is still room for more hotels. What they should be careful about, it's mostly about legal matters and financial matters. So it's also about how they are going to structure financial plan, and also to think on the long term again. It's about what do they want to do? Do they intend to exit their investment after 5 or 10 years? And then they have to think of the tax, because there could be, just like right now, we are helping a hotel owner to sell his resort. And we realized that depending on the legal status of the company, the tax can be 0.1%. Or it can be 20%.
Wow, that's
so that's a huge difference, of course.
So which kind of company can sell for 20, which one for 0.1?
Then they have to do a joint stock company. And then with a minimum of 3 shareholders. If not, yes, they will have to pay a tax of 20%.
Wow, that's a lot.
On the sales.
It changes everything.
So it's about for an investor to conduct some homework, to make some research, and not to think only about the investment today, but also in the long run. And
let's say the life cycle of the investment.
Exactly, until the day they want to sell, if they want to sell one day. Another big concern, as I said, it's about legal, about property and pink book or red book. So that's also very important to make sure that the landowner, or depending if they buy an existing property or land, it's also different. Yes, but it's mostly about that and thinking really long term until.
So your company also taking care of this support.
We can recommend some good legal firm with which we are working in partnership. And to take care of that. And again, there are different ways of structuring the finance. It could be a Vietnamese company, which could be owned by holding located somewhere else, which could be Hong Kong or Singapore. And again, it's all about tax, which can make a big difference. And also to think of the customers they want to attract, because depending on if they want to more Western people or Asian people, then they have to adapt the facilities, the ambience, the interior design.
Yeah, it's absolutely different, the expectation.
Guests have different expectations. So it's also very important to think of what kind of customer they want to attract. To conduct feasibility studies, I must say that it is perhaps quite an important weakness in Vietnam. whereas investors think more of real estate speculation rather than thinking about operation profitability.
Okay, okay.
And that's also very important to calculate the return on investment and to see, and again, to make a very good market research feasibility study prior to launching their project. And again, think of what kind of customers they want to attract.
Because once you decide your customer, actually, you don't have much chance to change again, unless it will cost a lot of money. Because let's say if you set up something that can be more related to family and not really, let's say, couple friendly, after that, gonna be like a huge amount of money if you want to bring that, let's say, this hotel to have a look for couple only. I think it's gonna be expensive.
Yes. And also about transportation, and to look also into the future to see if there are already some plans for some airlines perhaps to develop some connection with foreign countries.
Yeah.
That's also very important. If a destination which is not known yet in Vietnam, if some airlines have some plan to develop some connection with Korea, with Singapore, then say, okay, perhaps instead of targeting Western customers, perhaps we should target
some
Asian customers, because in 2 or 3 years' time from now, we know that these airlines have applied to get the right to operate some flights between destination in Vietnam and other.
I remember like Da Nang, for example, they target a lot of Korean flight before COVID. Now I don't know actually, but before COVID, I think they have like 3 or 4 flights a day. Let's talk about you, because you've been here for 11 years, correct?
Yes.
So in this 11 years, I'm sure you're gonna have some challenge. Which one was the biggest challenge you have here in Vietnam?
Private life, perhaps it was at the very beginning when I was in North Vietnam, in Ha Long Bay and Hanoi. At that time, it was very difficult to find a Western food product.
Okay.
I cook at home, equivalent product that we can find in Europe, for instance. Then I had to adapt my cooking style, or my cooking, the way of cooking, and to adapt to the product I could find. Now I must say that 11 years later, it's much, much easier, thanks to some very good delicatessen shop who bring many Western products. So now it's much easier. But at the very beginning, it was quite challenging.
Did you learn to cook something Vietnamese or not yet?
Yes, I try to learn, but it's still
prefer like European cuisine.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I like very much Vietnamese food. Yeah. But I must say I don't have enough knowledge, or perhaps I didn't spend enough time learning about how to cook.
To make it. To eat it.
Yes, I like to eat it, but it's a bit more challenging for me to cook it. Yes.
What's your favorite dish?
I like pho.
Okay.
Which is quite similar to pot-au-feu in France. It's one of my favorites. On the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I always go to the same place for pho.
I think because especially Vietnamese cuisine, they get a lot of influence from France, and even the name itself, like they get influence. I remember this dish that have 2 eggs. How you call it? Here in Vietnam, it's called au plat.
Yes.
So if
in French, it's sur le plat.
Yeah, correct. So I think it's just like translating the name. Yeah. So it's very interesting how these 2 cultures actually during the time they're blending together in food. That's nice. During your career, because you have long time career, okay, which one was the most difficult and unreasonable client that you had?
Well, the most difficult and the most complicated client I had, one of my ex-boss. At that time, I was working as a director of food and beverage for L'Oréal Hotel, 5-star hotel in Luxembourg. And the company needed to open another 5-star hotel in Jordan, in Amman. And then I participated since the very beginning, at the very early stage, with the architect to at the F&B operation for this 5-star hotel. And then, of course, I went many times to Jordan for the pre-opening and then for the launching, for the grand opening with the King of Jordan, the Queen of Jordan, and many VIPs, the Mayor of London, the President of the European Commission. And then the day prior the grand opening, owner was having a press lunch with many journalists coming from Middle East, but also from Europe. And then suddenly I received a call from the front office telling me, well, we have a band and dancers who just arrived and they pretend they are playing tonight and they are dancing tonight. said, no, there must be a mistake. It's only tomorrow. The grand opening is tomorrow. And then they say, no, don't have them on our book. We don't have room for them. So then I interrupted my boss, my owner, during his press lunch. And I asked him, I said, look, we have a band coming from Lebanon, from Beirut. I said, oh, yes, I forgot to tell you, tonight I have a small gathering with some friends, but make it something simple. We are just only 200 people.
Yeah, very.
It was then when I called the chef, I said, chef, tonight we have a small gathering for 200 people. Are you ready? The chef went completely.
Of course.
And then, but finally we made it, and this band played. And then the following day, for the grand opening, we had 800 customers, sitting dinner with, as I mentioned, many VIPs. And we needed to have 1,000 staff because it was top.
Of course.
For the waiters, 1,000 waiters.
Yeah, technically more than one each.
To food, but also the beverages, the wine, and so on. And then because we had so many VIPs and the King of Jordan, the Jordan were there attending to the grand opening, then the Secret Service came and they asked us to call all the staff, specifically all the waiters, because there were many part-timers in the team. We don't
them.
And they had to make ID check and to check their see if there is
action
can approach all these VIPs. And then at the end, after 3 hours, and it was already, when they arrived, it was 3 p.m. They left at 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., they declined 300 staff.
Wow.
For security reasons.
Of course.
Then at the last minute, I had to call my colleagues from the Marriott, from Sheraton, and say, please help us. We need some staff. Finally, we couldn't recover 300 more staff, but we could have 120 more staff. And then to breathe at the last minute to say, okay, now these are the service sequence for the grand opening. Please pay attention because we have no time to repeat.
To everyone. Oh my God.
So that very challenging situation, and certainly one of the most difficult situations I've been faced to in the very last.
After the night, everything went well.
Very well.
How many hours you sleep after that? 36.
Because the following day we had also another
event.
So not time.
But I can sure that in the evening you get a nice.
Yes, good bath to relax. And to distress about this.
Very good. Can you share an advice for young generation? If, for example, I'm a Vietnamese guy or lady around 25 to 30 years old, and I want to join in a similar company like yours, or similar activity like yours, a career, what kind of advice you can give to this young generation? Advice
number one, I would say it's about gaining international exposure. Right now, we can see some young Vietnamese who are in their 30s and who already are in a position of being a deputy general or general manager of a 4- or 5-star hotel. And for most of them, there is a lack of international exposure, a lack of knowledge about the customers, what are their expectations. And I believe that to be a good general manager, not only for the customers, but also for your team, you need to have, you don't need to be in a hurry, but you need to gain exposure, to gain confidence. Sometimes I could see that many young general managers had a lack of culture. And it's very important when you welcome very wealthy people who have a high demand to understand as soon as they arrive, you should, without asking questions, you should
already know what's happening.
Yes. And you can only gain this confidence and this experience and this knowledge by traveling and to be exposed to international culture. This is what I did since my very first job. My very first job was overseas, and I worked in many countries, not only in Europe, but also in Middle East, Indian Ocean, Asia. And I believe this is the most, you don't learn everything at school.
Yeah, correct. You need to be in the field.
Yes, you need to be in the field, to be exposed to difficult situations.
Like the one before. That's a good school.
To be exposed to different culture. to understand your customers better. And this is how you can grow, traveling, learning. That's at the very young age. That's very important. I believe so. Well, for me, it was very helpful. And this is why perhaps for me it was easier to adapt to a country like Vietnam, which was not, still it's not an easy country. You can see also differences in terms of habits, business habits between North Vietnam and South. So that was also a very good experience for me to work nationwide, to work not only in the South, but also to work in the North.
And adjust.
And to adjust. And so that's very important, not only for a country, but also for international.
So get exposure in this case for young generation is a must.
Yes. Respond quickly to some difficult situation.
Like problem solving skills.
Problem solving.
The one you get during the experience.
Because the higher you go, the higher you go,
going to be the challenge.
The challenge is even more complicated.
Yeah, correct.
And if you want to reach high level in this business, you must. And in fact, a manager is a troubleshooter. You know, if it goes well, you don't need a manager. The team can do by themselves. But the number one duty of a manager or director or CEO is to find solution on a daily basis.
So it's today.
My pleasure.
And follow Inspire Saigon. See you at the next episode.